We're going to invest some money. When you're faced with a problem like this, it's a good idea to read through it carefully, maybe even more than once. It might take a couple times to get a good picture of what's going on. So let's read through carefully here. We have $9,000. If you like highlighters and underlining, this is a good time for that too. And two different accounts. Well, I can't put all of my $9,000 in both accounts, so I'm going to have to split it up. Let's see, we know something about some interest rates. One's at 4%, one's at 6%. I want to earn $430 in interest. That's altogether $430 total. It's important to know what the question is, because if you don't know what the question is, it's very hard to tell whether you've answered it or not. So sometimes it'll look like a question, which this one does, and sometimes it might be a statement, a direction, find, evaluate, something like that. But this one is, how much should you invest at each rate? Well, since there's two different rates, that tells me I'm going to have two different numbers as my answer. So let's see, I'm going to split up my money. I'm going to have X. Since the question is how much should you invest? That's what amount of money. So I'm going to have my variable stand for that. I'm going to have X, B. I can't just say the amount at each rate because it might not be the same amount at each rate. I can't have X stand for two things. It's only one variable. So I'm going to just pick one. I'll pick 4% since it's listed first, but it doesn't matter. So X is going to be the amount in the 4% account. Well, suppose I put $3,000 at 4%, and I have $9,000 altogether. That leaves me $6,000 to put in the other account. And I did that by subtracting 9,000 minus 3,000 to get the other 6,000. So to get the amount in the other account, the amount at 6%, I'm going to take my total and subtract off the amount that I already put in the 4% account. So some of it goes at 4%, the rest of it goes at 6%. We need to know something about how to calculate interest. And in general, that goes like this. I'm going to multiply the rate in its decimal form by the amount that's at that rate. So the amount of interest that I'm going to earn on the 4% account is the rate in its decimal form. I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places to the left, so that's 0.044% times the amount. Well, I don't know what the amount is, but I have a name for it. It's X. The amount of interest I get from the other account is its rate, 6%, times its amount. And again, I don't know what amount that is yet, but I have a name for it. It's 9,000 minus X. I want to earn $430 in interest on the two accounts. So let's see. If I have interest on the first account, interest on the second account, if I add those together, I should get the total amount of interest that I'm after. So interest on the first account, interest on the second account, all of the interest that I earned this year is going to total up to $430. There's an equation. Once we get to an equation, we're kind of on the downhill side. The big hump to get over a lot of the time here is going from the words on the page to the equation. But now that we have an equation, we'll just solve it in the usual way. I'm going to distribute. So I got 0.06 times 9,000 Minus 540. And make sure the negative sign stays in there. So now I'm going to combine like terms on the left here. That's negative 0.02. And now we'll subtract 430 minus 540. So I got negative 0.02 x equals negative 90. We'll divide both of those. Oh, guess what? 430 minus 540 is not, in fact, negative 90. That's negative 110. That'll work better. If you make a mistake, fix it. Keep going. What are you going to do? It happens. So now I'm going to divide both sides by this negative 0.02. And this is definitely something you probably have your calculator handy for. And we get x is 5,500. And so you'd think, okay, what does that mean? X is 5,500. Well, right back here, we said X is the amount at 4%. I'm going to put $5,500 at 4%. To get the amount at 6%, that's 9,000 minus X. Well, I know what X is now. So we can find 9,000 minus X. 9,000 minus 5,500 is 3,500. And I'm going to write my answer. 5,500 I'm going to put at 4% and 3,500 at 6%.